Welcome to the Tomorrow's Own Catalyst podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Rubin. This is part of a special series from Spark to Shift, how smart leaders are navigating AI adoption. In each episode, we're talking with visionary leaders about bold moves, real stories, and their shift from AI talk to traction. Every guest is at a different point in their AI journey, but all of them are doing more than just exploring AI or talking about AI. They're transforming potential into progress. So if you're ready to step away from day to day and explore new possibilities, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. Today's guest is Nick Fong. He is CMO and CTO at AP Equipment Finance. And I just noticed, that there's a lot of acronyms just right there.
I have a lot of letters, yes.
Yeah, it just really struck me. I don't know why. So Nick is a very strategic leader. He blends marketing creativity with tech-forward execution in the equipment finance space, whether he's optimizing outreach or rolling out new platforms. He always brings a really sharp focus on both business value and scalable impact. I love the way he thinks. Also, he's a certified lease and finance professional. So more acronyms for you, CLFP in the house. Multiple academy instructor and a recognized industry leader. He was named Monitor Magazine's 40 Under 40 list and most recently honored as a next generation icon. So congratulations on that. And I think weren't you just recognized for something else?
I don't think so. I know some of our other executives and leaders were recognized.
Okay.
The CEO was recognized as an icon.
Well, I'm seeing you all the time, so congratulations.
The marketing,
whatever you're doing, it's working.
Yeah, perfect.
So, welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you. I appreciate that intro. I'm going to steal it on my bio moving forward. That was extremely flattering. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right. Well, I really appreciate every time I get a chance to talk with Nick. And we were geeking out recently about where AI practically fits into the equipment finance world. And I think that's on a lot of people's minds these days. So, of course, they said, oh my gosh, you have to come on the show so we can geek out in public. So that's what we're going to do.
I love it. Love having conversations.
Yeah. What sparked your AI journey?
So it's hard not to look at anything in terms of technology or business without seeing AI. And I will be the first person to tell you I don't know everything. In fact, I tell all of my employees, you're a great set of eyes, you're a great set of ears, you're a great brain. I need you guys to help me out with stuff. So I try and do as much learning, as much reading as possible. And obviously, you can't read anything without the two-letter acronym AI popping around. So obviously, you're going to be interested if you're somewhat even remotely interested in technology. So that really got me thinking. But then, honestly, AI is just something, it's been around, the term's been around for 40, 50 years, technically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's only now to where, it's being able to be seen as a true value provider. And from that perspective, as a business leader, if that doesn't spark your interest of how can we use this to either help processes, make things move faster, or even potentially make some low level or even middle level decisions, that's extremely intriguing.
Well, and I think that curiosity is a huge benefit when it comes to the AI journey, because I think there's just no end to what we can be learning about this. Where did you start and what did you learn from starting there?
Great question. So as you had mentioned, I have lots of fun letters behind my name. So I'm head of marketing and head of technology. And really, honestly, the first place we started was, I remember one day someone's like, hey, have you seen ChatGPT? And I think this was 3, maybe almost 4 years ago. And I was like, no, what is this? And then I started playing with it. And I was like, oh my God, it can make content. It's not perfect, but it can start content. And then I got my marketing manager, Corey Drake, who's amazing. I was like, we need to start playing with this because if we're having roadblocks or, writer block for any sort of marketing collateral, let's just mess with it, because the reality of it is marketing is just one giant experiment to get exposed to your customer base, right? So let's just start playing. Let's get in there. Let's play with it. Let's understand it. And now, my team uses AI in lots of different facets, visual, video, audio, written content. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's a great part. Like, we're just playing with it. We're making stuff. Obviously, it goes through an auditing kind of like review, quality control process, but it gets my team creating content quicker, faster, and gets us in front of our customer base in a much more rapid manner. So that was the first iteration, because honestly, the generative portion of it was just like that. It was perfect for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we started just like looking at small tools that were considered product enhancers or process efficiency enhancers, like note takers. Like, we're all using note takers right now. So it's like, there's no risk of that. All the security metrics met our internal team's needs. So we just ran with it. And then it's literally just, let's jump headfirst in and see what happens and see how it goes. And then put it in low risk areas and see how it can complement the business.
The first thing that really stands out in your journey is just the willingness to experiment. And you got your whole team experimenting and interacting with it. That's what we did too at Tomorrow Zone. And, I love that you said marketing is one giant experiment, because I feel like that's what we're constantly doing. I am not a marketing expert myself. I will never claim to be. But one thing that interacting with ChatGPT has done for us is the tyranny of the blank page is gone. The need to starting point or going from a concept to a first draft, the time for that has just collapsed. And that's been a game changer for our whole team. And then moving into other tools and apps as you find new possibilities and identify needs. So in the efficiency apps that you're using, what have you found to really change the game for you so far? So you mentioned note takers. Are there any others that you're trying?
We're using note takers. We're using another platform that does kind of like SOPs, that builds SOPs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure everyone, if you Google it, actually, I suggest you don't Google it, because their marketing is fantastic and it'll follow you everywhere.
Oh,
so you will get remarketed. But it's called Scribe. It does SOPs. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's a great platform. And now we're actually doing a very conscious shift into, well, now we have some of this more human kind of note-taking type of like busy work things.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, how do we use it inside of our database? Which is a big leap forward. And because now you're starting to talk about exposing it to your data, what it's going to do, creating parameters around it to make sure it's not going to, potentially fill the system with hallucinated data, all of the same kind of buzzwords you hear about, concerns. So now there's a really big shift of like, okay, we know there's a use case. There's a few use cases we're looking at. And how do we do it in a way where you often hear the term human in the loop? I actually kind of changed that a tiny bit, and it's almost like human at the center. So it's like it's doing all the work, but it's just providing the information for the human to make the best decision. Because the reality of the scenario, as an organization, you spend tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars training, working on culture, building up your human talent pool that you all have and you work with and and you trust. Shouldn't we rely on that investment in those individuals to use their best judgment? We spent all this time and all this money leveraging and building a strong talent pool. They know what the business needs. So why don't we make their time more efficient by getting rid of their busy work, whether it's note-taking or making SOPs, or even doing minor research projects for doing underwriting on, that company or that trucking company or that construction company or whatever. What if the agent was able to provide some of the metrics that are used on an everyday basis to help that decisioning and pull that information close to that underwriter so that that underwriter doesn't have to do all of that research? So things like that. And so, but the human's still at the center of it. You're having the AI agent like surround the individual with the information, and you run quality checks, you verify, you validate, but you're still allowing that highly trained and, to be honest, expensive individual to do what they do best.
Yeah. Well, and humans are going to connect the dots in ways that AI cannot.
Yep.
We just by design have inputs that machines can't. So
Exactly. And in all of our businesses in the equipment finance space, we've all found different niches because we know something a little bit different than, our competitor or the other originator down the road, so to speak. We that what is it, the secrets in the sauce kind of thing. So like we know certain things that can be eventually trained, but right now like our teams know how to connect the dots, like you said, in a way that is beneficial for the business.
Yeah. So I love that thought. I want to build on that a little bit. So you talk a lot about your journey, but then also your team, and I can hear the shifts in the way that you're thinking as leader. What shifts in thinking have helped you to gain traction when it comes to your team? Because sometimes people are afraid of adopting AI tools. I might break the company, or what if I do something wrong? Do you have any insights there that you can share with our listeners?
Well, the easiest one is just tell your executives you're going to save tons of money. No, I'm kidding. That's it.
Well, I mean, that is an attention-getting statement in the boardroom. Yes.
That's what you lead in with, and then you kind of follow up with the rest of it.
It's another one of your marketing experiments. Here's the idea.
Exactly. It's called penetration pricing. You come in low, and then anyways. So
brilliant.
In all honesty, it's kind of like that old term, boiling a frog, right? You start slow, and we started slow by having low risk items like the note taker. And then everyone's so used to it now. It's like, oh, did we put Fathom inside of our Teams meeting? It's like, oh no, like I don't have Fathom. Where's my paper? Like they're not ready for it. So they become reliant on it, and they get trusted, and you're building that trust throughout the process of
it almost becomes a team member. I mean, it is for us.
1,000%. Oh yeah. And then like you can ask it questions, and like you can highlight, hey, what did Deb say about this, and all these other things. So it's like, that slow introduction, while it wasn't totally planned out, it's just kind of how it worked out, right? It was introducing the idea of something that's a little bit different, building that trust in it, and then moving on to the next layer. And then ultimately, it's also, in some ways, I just asked other senior managers and executives, what are your concerns? Like, what are your major concerns? And like, some of my data guys are like, hey, I'm really concerned that this is going to look at data in the wrong way. And it's like, great, that's a perfect, absolutely, valid response. And let's take a look at those concerns and find a way to work with those concerns, not against them, and find use cases I don't want to call them like remedial or trivial, but use cases that are important, but also low level. And then introduce it through there, and then get that comfort level and build on it, and work in areas that are time consuming, but to be honest, aren't very difficult. They're just time consuming. So that's kind of the way we approach it. And then just understanding like where are the hard stops? Like individuals in my company are like, no, we will not have AI voice agents because they're still kind of wonky. Some of them are really good, but we like one of the things we pride ourselves on is a customer calls us and they get a person within X amount of seconds, right? And what is the value proposition of the organization? How does that align with that AI technological shift?
I think that's really important. I love the way that you're actually enabling your team to level up in their skills in a way that is creating trust, but also opening the dialogue. I think a lot of people skip that part. Really opening the dialogue and making it safe to express what your concerns really are, and then exploring how to, avoid those risks or to work within, constraints that maybe you didn't realize but are important to someone else. So bringing in those perspectives is so vital. What have you learned, Nick, that others need to hear, especially where it might concern resistance or even unexpected wins when adopting AI tools?
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of do a workaround in terms of answering that question. I think the most important thing is there is a lot, coming from the marketing perspective, there is a lot of hype right now on AI. I feel like as soon as like OpenAI came up and like really started getting their traction, everyone took their name and slapped AI onto the back of it and was like, hey, we have a new product.
Suddenly everybody is an expert and everything's AI enabled.
Exactly. And in some respects, a lot of these people were working with AI in some respects. And now that it's become kind of trendy, now they're kind of just leaning into it, which is absolutely fine. And I wouldn't expect technological companies to do anything otherwise. But what I would say is be very careful about finding a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. At its core, I think everything can be solved through proper operations and processes. AI is just kind of like in some ways, like a steroid to really solid processes and efficiencies. It's only going to make it better, or it could make it a heck of a lot worse.
Yep.
So it's really careful because they're like on the surface, the marketing and the advertising look, but you really have to understand what you're trying to get to and what you're trying to solve. And at the end of the day, is the expense, not only in terms of cost, but also time, worth it for the output on the other end? Because a lot of times you end up spinning your wheels and you try to cram this kind of like square peg into a round hole. And it's like, well, we can kind of make it work and kind of angle it from this. And it's kind of like falling in love with the house you want to buy or whatever. And you kind of try and find a way to figure it out, but it doesn't totally work. Have this stuff mapped out, have this stuff planned, because they're very savvy companies out there that have really great products, but maybe it just doesn't fit your exact need. And that's kind of a waste of yours as well as your team's time. That's a bit of caution. And that's really what we do. Like, we look at it from that perspective of like, okay, what is this problem solving? And right now, how do we maximize ROI on
Yes.
whatever we're investing? Like, let's not do it just because everyone else is doing it, but how do we actually solve a problem? So that would be my kind of suggestion.
I totally agree with that approach. That's actually what we do with clients in our AI workshop. We call it intelligent automation catalyst, because not everything needs to be solved with AI. And not every problem that you find actually needs automation. It may need to be revisited because maybe there's a process you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. And investing and adding AI to something like that is not going to get you a great ROI. You can say you used AI and maybe when it comes to innovation theater, you're on the stage, but is it really adding value to the bottom line? So I love the way you're thinking about it.
The other benefit to kind of coming at it from that approach is, like you said, you find out stuff you were doing that you just shouldn't be doing. You're like, wait, like, honestly, so we internally, we have an efficiency task force that we've kind of spun up to kind of be a catalyst for like, where are areas that AI could potentially help us, push things through. And then you end up having these conversations with all these different SMEs, subject matter experts or department managers. And you're like, wait, we do things that way? Like, can we go back to that and have a discussion about why we're doing this? And then they're like, oh yeah, let's have and then without even, and I know this is not really about AI, but it's more about like internal processes. It's like, then you end up solving a problem you didn't even know you had just by having it, because you're looking for ways to implement new technologies and new processes.
Yeah, but I think it always gets back to, what is your objective?
Yeah.
And why is that objective important? And that's where we find the value. But I think we, focus so much on the what and the how, we forget to dig into the why and what's the value of it. So, I love the way that you're thinking about that. And I also wrote down, be careful of solutions for problems that don't exist. Kind of, total mic drop right there. So how are you thinking about what's next with AI for your team or even for the equipment finance industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, there's a lot of interesting technology coming out. I think the new focus on agents to be able to do stuff, I think, is really, really interesting. However, on my opinion, right, wrong, or indifferent, I think you're going to end up seeing agents being baked into a lot of the platforms we're already using. It's kind of like when the internet kicked off. It's like everyone was kind of a little bit afraid of it and what it is, but then it just kind of started becoming ubiquitous, right? It was just there. Like, you wanted to make a payment, you went online, you did your thing. You wanted to look up maps, like you went online and you looked up maps. It's just going to become part of everything. That's my guess. Total wild guess. But I think that agents are really going to be interesting in terms of what can it do to help augment current processes or even current staff and help supplement and help them out. I think that'll be really interesting, especially when it starts being able to do like true like logical decisioning, which I think is like the next big thing, where it starts to basically make decisions based on the information that it's able to see, assuming it's not, having any sort of type of hallucination in that information or creating information. I think that'll be really interesting. Like kind of combining both machine learning as well as like generative like creation, if that makes sense. I think that will be huge for this space. I think it'll change a lot. I think it will take a lot of trust and validation and verification. But if it could go that way, I think you could see a lot of decisioning happening at light speed, like crazy.
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity there, but we also have a lot to learn.
Yes.
My deep dive into agents so far, I still feel like we're not ready. And then the other piece is back to like what you were talking about before, is really understanding your processes and where it is valuable to apply intelligent automation to it. And I think one of the areas where we need to kind of level up as an industry is in actually being able to map out, understand, and then decompose our processes into those discrete tasks where it makes sense to apply automation. Like, note taking is a very narrow task. It's not a whole job. It's a narrow task. And it fits in really well into a lot of different scenarios. And so being able to think through process in that way, I think, is something that I often find as a gap across the industry. And so we need to get good at that so that we can really leverage the technology in a great way, because it is becoming ubiquitous, like electricity.
Yeah.
So I tell this story, but I'll never forget. I was at a museum in DC and I saw this exhibit in the history museum, and it was a box for Triscuit crackers.
Okay.
From like back when electricity was first coming on the scene.
Yeah.
And so you're in marketing, all the hype. Electricity was hyped just like AI. And on the box, it actually said, made with electricity. And you think about that today, you're like, well,
obviously.
Yeah, who cares? And I'm starting to feel that way about AI because it is embedded into so much of our day-to-day life. There's like things happening in the background here, even just to deal with, noise control and stuff in video meetings. And, there's an AI in the background, generating a transcript, and like do we need to celebrate that?
It's going to be just part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that our car can talk to our phone, like even as recent as like 10 years ago, you'd be like, wait, what? My car can't talk to my phone. Like, that's not a thing. But now it's like, if your car doesn't come with a phone app, you're like, well, why can't I unlock my car from my now? It's, we just get used to that sort of stuff.
Unless you have a classic car that was from last century, like I do.
But then you're just way cooler than everyone
My car is like super off grid.
But yours will work when the internet goes down.
This is true. Yep.
No, and I mean, I totally agree with you. It's like going back to what you had mentioned, the discrete portion of it. And that's a lot of how we started. It's like, okay, where can we put it in an area that's needed? But again, like it's low risk. It's somewhat siloed. And we can check the QA, like quality assurance on it. We can look at it, see how it works. And then it just becomes a supplement to everything else we're doing.
Yeah. A low risk way to get quick value, but also to learn, because I think that's another big part of your story and your approach is this is a continuous learning journey.
1,000%. Yeah. I mean, and with how quickly things are moving, it's like, it's so easy to get almost like blindsided. It's like you're trying to drink from a fire hose, and it's like, every new day, like, I mean, we're already on I think we're on GPT-4, and they're probably going to do 5 soon. Like, it's just, that's just one company. And then they have all the other tech giants are coming out with their own model. All the other applications are building on top of those models. So you're finding extremely brilliant individuals come out with products like and just continually, like almost bombard you. And as a tech executive, like you're like we're positioned to be like, find out what that thing is to help us go to that next level. But it's like, oh my God, there's like literally a million things.
Well, yeah, it's overwhelming. So as you were talking, I went to one of my favorite sites. There's an AI for that. Because I've been watching this. So I've been using AI tools since 2016, and I've been presenting on it and stuff. I used to be able to fit all the companies building AI apps on a single market map on a single slide. And now there's this database, there's an AI for that.com. And as of today, 42,103 AI tools. And so
And
that,
growing.
yeah, there's a lot you can do. And so I think, like what we were talking about, though, that value filter is so important, making sure we've got a problem to solve that's valuable to solve, that needs to be solved. So I can't believe how fast our time has gone here. We're already to the top of our time. So we're to the lightning round.
Okay.
So this is just short, quick responses. Fill in the blank. AI is only as powerful as blank.
The people that build the processes.
Awesome. What's one word that describes your AI journey?
Methodical.
Oh, wow. That's good. What do you wish someone had told you at the beginning?
It's okay to make mistakes. Actually, can I change my methodical one? I'd say experiment. It's kind of like a 50-50 between methodical and experiment.
Say more.
Like you experiment with a purpose and a methodology. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Let's land the plane with that. Experiment with purpose and methodology. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Nick, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and I love the chance to geek out with you anytime we can.
Well, we'll have to do it again soon.
Yes.
To our listeners, I hope you took away some awesome wisdom nuggets from that conversation. I know I did. And just want to thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious and choose to make awesome happen.